McLaren's remarkable improvement this season has left fans astounded. Lando Norris clinched his fourth podium of the season at Suzuka, propelling him ahead of George Russell in the Drivers' Championship, while Oscar Piastri secured his inaugural podium, hinting at a promising future. However, Sergio Perez nearly derailed their race. Today, we delve into McLaren's extraordinary weekend and the encounter that placed Checo on the receiving end of Lando's frustration. Lando Norris believes McLaren's formidable driver pairing offers a significant advantage, as the team celebrated a significant milestone with a double podium finish at the Japanese Grand Prix. Norris, the British driver, secured second place for the second consecutive race, although he trailed the dominant race winner, Max Verstappen, by a considerable margin. Meanwhile, his teammate, Oscar Piastri, achieved his maiden podium in his debut Formula One season. Following a challenging start to the year, McLaren has impressed since their major upgrade in July at the Austrian Grand Prix. Norris secured a fourth-place finish at Spielberg before notching back-to-back second-place finishes at Silverstone and Hungary. The Austria car has exceeded expectations this season, earning the Australian driver an extended contract just this past week. Piastri rewarded Zak Brown's faith in him with an outstanding performance at Suzuka, especially considering he had never raced in Japan before. While McLaren is on an upward trajectory, Aston Martin has encountered recent struggles, with Lance Stroll failing to score since the summer break and Fernando Alonso amassing only 4 points from the last 3 events. Zak Brown, McLaren CEO, expressed optimism about closing the gap with Aston Martin, stating, "It's definitely doable. All we can do is be as competitive as we can every weekend." However, McLaren's impressive weekend was not without its share of incidents. After the race, Norris admitted to being frustrated and vocal as Sergio Perez, moving slowly, cost him precious time, approximately 10 seconds, under virtual safety car conditions. The virtual safety car was deployed after Perez collided with Kevin Magnussen's Haas, leading both drivers to pit for repairs. During the VSC period, Norris found himself trailing Perez, who was maintaining a sluggish pace. Uncertain about whether overtaking was permissible under VSC conditions, Norris refrained from attempting a pass. In the end, Norris estimated that it cost him up to 10 seconds and left him feeling flustered in the McLaren cockpit. When asked about the incident with Perez, Norris remarked, "I have no idea. I don't know. I mean, he must have had a problem, right? But the thing is, you can't overtake under VSC, and it's obvious the guy has a problem." He continued, "I don't know what was going on. I didn't know if he had a problem, whether he was just backing me up, I don't know. And I couldn't take the risk of just overtaking him." It's worth noting that overtaking under safety car conditions had resulted in a 5-second penalty for Sergio Perez earlier in the race, one of 2 penalties the Mexican driver received before retiring on lap 15. The situation was quite unusual initially, the driver was moving at a very slow pace. Then, when the VSC, virtual safety car, sign started flashing, he suddenly shifted into first gear. I found myself on the outside of his car since he was going so slow, and we came dangerously close to a collision. To be honest, I was quite frustrated and confused at that moment. Inside my helmet, I was shouting and using some strong language, but I couldn't figure out what to do. I was losing valuable time to Max, and the Ferrari driver was trailing me by about 1.4 seconds, after initially being around 12th or 13th. So, I essentially lost around 10 seconds due to this incident, and I was at a loss for how to handle the situation. The reason Perez was driving so slowly was because his car had sustained damage from a collision with Kevin Magnussen. As a result, Red Bull wanted him to retire from the race, even though they had already pitted him to replace his damaged front wing. This incident could have been avoided if Perez had clearly indicated that he was retiring from the race, something Lando pointed out. When a driver has a problem, they should pull over and make it evident. Unfortunately, Perez didn't, and that's why I couldn't take the risk of overtaking him during the VSC period. So, I really had no idea what to do in that situation. Looking back, I don't think it would have dramatically changed the outcome of the race, it would have just added to my stress. However, it might have put a bit more pressure on Max, as Lando mentioned. But ultimately, it didn't have a significant impact on the race. Considering everything, this weekend was an incredibly positive one for McLaren. Before the upgrades in Austria, we only had 5 points finishes in 8 races. But with both drivers landing on the podium, McLaren has demonstrated not only significant improvements to the car over the course of the season but also the skill of our drivers in maximizing the car's potential. I believe that our strong driver lineup is a huge asset for McLaren as we chase down Aston Martin in the Constructors' Championship. As I mentioned after the race at Suzuka, not every team enjoys this advantage right now. Having two competitive drivers allows us to work together and support each other, which gives us an edge over many other teams. We're definitely on an upward trajectory, making substantial progress, and days like today prove just that. McLaren's transformation has been remarkable, especially considering our slow start to the season and our initial struggles to meet aerodynamic targets with the car. Since the pivotal upgrades in Austria, everything has turned around for us. Norris has secured 4 second-place finishes, and Oscar Piastri has consistently contributed points. The recent race at Suzuka marked the team's first double podium since Monza in 2021, when Daniel Ricciardo claimed victory with Norris in second place. However, it's worth noting that their success at Monza was aided by a collision between Max Verstappen and Lewis Hamilton, which ended both of their races. Despite the gap to Red Bull, Norris expressed confidence that they were gradually closing in on the reigning world champions. "We're pushing, we're making progress," he asserted. "The strides we've taken are quite remarkable. I'm incredibly proud of the team and the consistent improvement we're witnessing every race weekend." Nevertheless, it's acknowledged that there won't be any significant changes in the current season. The next race is in Qatar in 2 weeks, where Verstappen could secure the driver's title in the Saturday sprint race with just 3 points. Looking ahead to the next season, which retains the same technical regulations, McLaren is positioning itself as strong contenders to challenge Red Bull. As Norris crossed the finish line in Japan, he radioed his team, proclaiming, "Double podium, we're coming for Red Bull." It's unclear whether he was referring to the ongoing season or the following one. However, team principal Andrea Stella is more cautious about expectations for the remainder of this season. While pleased with the progress in 2023, he believes that Red Bull, particularly with Max Verstappen behind the wheel, still maintains a significant advantage in terms of pure pace. In the context of the upcoming season, McLaren, as well as Aston Martin earlier in the year, have demonstrated that substantial performance leaps are possible. To mount a serious challenge against Red Bull, teams may need an off-season transformation similar to what Aston Martin achieved. Mercedes initially seemed poised to make such a leap after transitioning from their zero-pod car, but as the season progressed, their progress compared to Red Bull has been minimal despite various upgrades. Lewis Hamilton has emphasized that his team requires an unprecedented 6 months of development if they hope to compete with Red Bull in 2024. Hamilton's comments were prompted by his performance during the Japanese Grand Prix weekend, where he led the Mercedes team in qualifying but was over a second behind Max Verstappen's pole position time. By the end of the race on Sunday, Max had extended his lead over Hamilton to a significant 49 seconds. Hamilton believes that achieving performance improvements akin to McLaren's success would necessitate a full commitment to pursuing a concept similar to Red Bull's, one that was established from the outset of the ground effect rules set in 2022. The proof of McLaren's progress is evident, and it's something that cannot be ignored. "We need to take a page out of their playbook," he remarked. "That's the path forward, and I have full confidence in my team's ability to make it happen. Historically, we've excelled at generating downforce for our cars. The challenge lies in the fact that our current car's dynamics are such that adding more downforce doesn't yield the desired results, it tends to make the car bounce erratically." Mercedes' efforts to navigate the current regulations have proven ineffective, as they still grapple with optimizing the ground effect aspects. If they intend to adopt a design similar to Red Bull's for the next season, there will be a steep learning curve ahead. McLaren, on the other hand, has demonstrated that it can be done. The McLaren team has undeniably accumulated valuable insights throughout this season. While challenging Red Bull before the end of this season may be a stretch, they are strong contenders to do so in 2024. What are your thoughts on McLaren's impressive double podium finish at Suzuka? Do you believe they are the frontrunners to challenge Red Bull in the upcoming season? I'm eager to hear your thoughts and perspectives. Please share them in the comments section below. Also, remember to subscribe to the channel for notifications on our future uploads, ensuring you stay informed about the developments in the 2023 Formula One season.